Hey there, I'm Elise and welcome back to my channel. So I was not about to make another Tinder Chronicles video so soon. I was going to make you guys wait for it. And I was going to talk about more interesting things like how to get insurance and how to pay your taxes. But I recently went on a date that was basically like deja vu of the last one that I talked about, and apparently I learned nothing. So let me tell you the story about what happened on this date and all the mistakes that I made again so that you don't make the same mistakes as me. And hopefully I stop making these mistakes too. But before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe and follow me on Instagram for more advice, stories, and peeks into my real life in Korea. Alright, let's get real. First, how we met. So obviously from the title, we met on Tinder. I was swiping through as one does, and I matched this guy who had like model quality photos of himself in a business suit. And he had mentioned in his profile that he was running a business, and so I just thought like, oh wow, he took some like really nice quality business profile shots for his business. So we were having like a normal conversation about like our past travels and the importance of being ambitious and what kind of life goals we have. And so I just thought like, oh, it's going really well. But then I asked him specifically what he does, and his answer was this and that. And so that was red flag number one. But as you know, I like the color red. And so I just like, I guess I thought that he wanted to be private, but this was already strange because normally when somebody has started a business, they pretty much only want to talk about their business and like what they're going to be doing. So it's kind of strange that he didn't tell what he does. And so I should have been like jobless, but that wasn't my impression at the time. But that is not a job description. And I know that some of you out there might be willing to entertain somebody's dusty, jobless Korean son, but that is not me. And you might be saying, Elise, what if this man is your soulmate and he just like needs some time to get on his feet? Well, if he's really my soulmate, he will find me again when his life is together and ready to have me in it. But for now, no. But anyway, those signs were not clear, so I just bulldozed ahead. So, the date. He had said that he lived in Gangnam, and since I was going to be in Gangnam the next day, I just suggested, hey, how about we meet up for coffee? And then he said yes, and since he works in Gangnam, allegedly, I said that we should just go to a cafe that he already knows. So I asked him like, hey, what cafe do you recommend? Is there any place that you already like to go during work hours? So then he sends me a link, like a neighbor location to a CU. And I'm just like, that's not what I asked for. But then he follows up and says like, oh, there's a lot of cafes in the area, so how about we just meet at the CU and then walk into like whatever cafes around. And like, I just said yeah because I was trying to seem chill, but I'm not spontaneous, so I also was already looking up all the cafes in the area and picking out the ones that I would pretend that I spontaneously wanted to go into. But here's where I made yet another mistake. I did not click on the link for the CU. I already kind of know the area, so I know that there's a CU, and I just assumed that it was that one. But then, when I was actually walking to the location and clicked on it, I realized that this CU was like so far off from the main street, and I was just like, why would he say that we should meet at this CU? But I'm like, okay, well, he said like it's near his work, so there must be some cafes around that I just don't know about because they're not on the main street. So, I mean, that happens all the time. There's a lot of like restaurants and cafes in alleys and like back streets. So I was just like, oh, maybe he knows some cool local cafes. Okay, so just for the sake of you understanding the story, like I'm gonna show the map somewhere of where the CU was in comparison to where all the cafes are located, and like just all the nothing that is around. Like I want you to be able to get the visuals. So I went to this CU, and like before you guys think that I was in a situation where I was about to get taken, like I'm not just walking around aimlessly. Like I was making sure that there were always people around. I was checking like what streets I would take if I had to run away, and I have some alarm apps on my phone that would make a bunch of noise. So it's like I was still like safe. But why would you make somebody walk to this particular place? It was already sketch. And like I already had like kind of a premonition of where this was going, but I was like, 설마, no way is he doing that. And like I just must be like too suspicious, but always follow your gut. So anyway, I get to the CU, and then he's like, oh, I need to finish working, so I'll be down in a second. But we're in an area, or I don't know why I said we, I was in an area where there are no office buildings. So I don't know what kind of work this is. I mean, yeah, there are businesses that are working out of office towels and apartments, but it was just like very residential looking. So I was just like, what? What? Okay, so man comes outside, and then the first thing that he said is, "Hey, I was thinking that we could just grab a coffee in the CU and take it up to my office." And I was just like, why would I do that? Nope. Like, literally, these are the words that I was saying. Why would I do that? And then he was like, what do you mean? And I was just like, I just met you for the first time right now. Why would I go get a coffee and then walk into a place that has no other people with you who I just met right now? Why would I do that? And he was just like, I don't understand what the big deal is. But it was really confusing because like the way that he was saying this was as if he really felt that way, and that I was the one that was saying something like very unreasonable and like jumping to conclusions about what kind of person he was. Like his voice inflection, his like body language was really just like, I don't understand. Why would you not want to come up to my office? Is something wrong? Like it was so weird. Anyway, I was just like, cricket. And I was like, I can't tell if you're being serious and you don't understand why I wouldn't want to do that, or if you are like trying to play me right now. Like I'm very confused, and like I'm literally saying these words out. And so I think actually I made him upset, but I was just like, so do you still want to have a coffee? I felt like we should actually not have coffee, but I'm already there. He's already there, and like we both arranged to meet after a good conversation. And so it was just one of those things where I guess I'm too nice and I didn't want to be like, I'm leaving, but I should have just left because it didn't get any better from that point on, as you would expect. And like at that point I already know like this date is botched. Like there is nothing that this man is going to be able to say. There is no conversation that we're going to have that's going to save the day after this like initial meetup. It's already done. But I had already been like practicing my seduction skills and like how to be engaging during a date. So I was just like, whatever, I'm just gonna like try to make this man fall in love with me and realize like how amazing that I was. And he just like totally fumbled and dropped the ball. Like it was just gonna be a throwaway where I practice having some different conversation and like eye contact and body language to try to be like, oh yes, wow, so interesting and stuff like that. So just like keep that in mind. I wasn't like, oh, this can turn around. No, it was not gonna turn around. Okay, so we start making our way to a cafe that I already chose. And on the way there, like he was alternating between being nice and happy and being like upset and rude. It was very strange. Like sometimes he was walking in front of me and still talking to me, and sometimes he was walking next to me, and like obviously he knows the way to this cafe because obviously he doesn't just work there, he lived there, so he's leading the way. And like he definitely went some paths that I think we didn't have to go. Like we walked up 2 flights of stairs and like down all these streets that I was just like, we could have just gone like ooh, ooh. But why are we going like you know? Like I feel like he did it on purpose because he didn't want to go anymore, and so he was trying to like be mean to me. But you can just say you don't want to go. Anyway, I could have also said I didn't want to go. So I'm not gonna say like he should have canceled the date if he didn't want to go. I also should have canceled the date. But we continued. We get to the cafe, and then he doesn't order a drink. And so I just pay for my own drink, which is fine. But I'm also thinking like, were you even gonna buy a coffee in the CU? Like if you already didn't want to have a coffee, why were we... Okay, all these things are not going to make sense. But anyway, I'm the only one that gets a drink. You're not supposed to do that, but we go sit down. And so I'm just like, whatever, I'm going to sit here until I'm done with my drink, at least. And so, I mean, like, he doesn't ask me anything. So I start the conversation off with, oh, you mentioned that you lived in the Philippines for a while. What were you doing in the Philippines? And there is nothing that could have prepared me for the answer that this man gave to that question. He proceeds to tell me about how he spent his time in Thailand doing drugs and sleeping with massage girls. And I was just like, what the fuck? Why would you say that? Like, even if you're not interested in me anymore, even if you don't want me to like you, why would you say that? You could say just whatever the real... I mean, I guess that was his real answer. And so he tells me about how he was like living with his uncle, and his uncle kept taking him to bars and like massage parlors, and then the massage girl was just like, so do you want it or not, because I guess that's what people go there for. And he acted like he didn't know that that's what people do there, and so this was his first time. And I'm just like, this wasn't an opportunity to tell me about like how you lost your virginity, sir. I don't understand this story. Like, normally when you ask somebody this question, they were either like studying abroad or working abroad or taking a gap year to travel and backpack around. Not, I was doing drugs and like hooking up with prostitutes. Like, and like even his stories about what he does now. Okay, so I never actually said like what the this and that ended up being. It ended up being that he edits videos and like as a freelancer from his apartment, and that's his office. And on the side, he takes some modeling gigs because he is super tall and looks like a model, and so that's a way for him to get some side income. But like, if you want to talk about some false advertisement in the Tinder profile, like he had all this business wear and was talking about his business, and then it turns out that his business is that he's a freelance video editor and then also sometimes models on the side. He then proceeds to talk about how he like doesn't fit in Korea, and how the typical Koreans don't want to be friends with him, so a lot of his friends are like also doing drugs and like into all kind of entertainment and music kind of stuff, which is cool, but only if they're doing it well. And from the way he's telling the story, I'm like, I don't really think that you're the kind of person that's friends with like super top performing like entertainers or like people in the industry, you know? It just sounds like, you know, people who are just starting out with their recording business or something like that, you know? You know what I'm trying to say. But the amount of arrogance that this man had while talking about his life, as if he had done something super amazing at this point, I was just like, I don't know where these men are getting all this audacity. And I need to have some of that, because look at how this guy lives his life and look at how he tells the story of his life. They're not matching up at all. But wow, just the confidence and the just pomposity that he told this story with. I was like, wow. All right, but then there's me, who actually, you know, lived a pretty cool life. I try my best. So then, like, I start talking, because he did not ask me one thing about myself. He did not ask me one question at all during the time that he was talking about all the things, all the amazing things that he had done. So then I was just like, well, since I sat here and listened to his story, I'm going to tell my story. And so I do that. And like, I have things to say in my story too. I lived in Japan for years. I came to Korea with nothing. I went to grad school and now I work in a company and blah, blah, blah. You know, like, I have like actual things in my resume to tell people about, because I'm trying to live properly and have something to bring to the table. So anyway, after I tell my story, this man is like silent. I guess like, I mean, I said a lot of things about myself in the profile, but I think people don't read it. And so I think he was very caught off guard. I think a lot of guys go on these dates expecting that their like foreigner counterpart is not doing very well in the country either, and is like, oh, I teach English, or like, oh, I'm here on a working holiday and I'm just here. You know, like, I don't think that he expected me to be able to say that like I have built a whole functioning life for myself as like a upstanding member of Korean society, even though I'm not Korean. So anyway, I think like he just had nothing to say, and that my resume crushed his, and we both knew that this was going nowhere, especially not in the direction that he was trying to make it go in the first place. And so like after that, I pretty much was like, all right, well, I gotta go, so thanks for your time. And he just had nothing really to say, and we went our separate ways. Okay, so the point of me telling these stories is not to be like, oh, all Korean men are fuckboys and you should never even try to meet a Korean man. It's not gonna happen for you. And that's not even a realistic representation of my romantic like history in the country. I have had long-term serious relationships, but the point is just to say that no matter where you are in the dating pool, there's pee-pee in the water everywhere. Like, whether you're in America, whether you're in Korea, Japan, wherever you are, there's duty in the water. So just don't waste your time with somebody who is already giving you red flags. And this is also something that I apparently have to tell myself, because this date went so similarly to the one that I went out on 7 years ago, and still I still made the same mistakes because I was trying to give people the benefit of the doubt and trying to give them a chance. Just no. Don't. Why? No. So remember, ladies and gentlemen who are interested in other gentlemen, stay vigilant. These guys have all the audacity, and we need to get some of that audacity because just wow. And when you think about it, like, even a prostitute would get more than what this man was trying to offer me on this date. Like, he did not even plan on buying me a coffee. He did not buy me a coffee, but he wanted what a prostitute would give for money. And so just don't cheapen yourself. Alright, so that's the end of another Tinder Chronicles rant. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and feel free to share in the comments down below if you have any of Tinder Chronicles of your own that you'd like to share. Of course, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so that you don't miss out on any of my next videos, especially ones like these. I also make videos on all the important aspects of life in Korea, like how to find an apartment, how to find a job, interview process, etc. So I hope that you'll check out those videos as well if you're interested in setting up a life here in Korea. If you're interested in moving to Korea but you don't really know where to start, or if you're already here and you're kind of stuck in your career journey or life journey, I also do personal consultations. Check the description box down below to see how you can book me for a personal consultation, and I'm sure after our session you'll be well on your way to your real life in Korea. As always, thanks for watching. Bye! 다음에 봐요.